Great. Okay, so Peter, I'll go ahead and introduce you, and then we can have you get started, and then I'm sure people will trickle in as they do. So Peter Simpson will be talking with us about biometric identity, co-enrollment detection. We know each other because actually now, I don't know how many years it's been, but a number of years we've been working with the iRespond company that Peter's currently the director and CTO for our biometric iris scanning for one of our studies. Peter has a background in medical informatics and computer science, focused on large-scale distributed health information systems, also patient tracking with identity and encryption. And maybe I'll let you talk a little bit more, Peter, about your areas of research and maybe do even a bigger introduction.
Sure, great. And yeah, it's been many years. UW, in fact, I talk about that later, is that University of Washington Global Health was kind of our first implementing customer, right, with Matt Dunbar.
Yep.
So it's really exciting to work on this and see how far it's come. So yeah, I guess I pause my video because I'm over here in Asia right now. Let me go ahead and share this, and please let me know if there's any video or audio problems. I tried to pull together a bunch of different presentations to talk a little bit about biometrics. I'm not sure about the audience, if they're familiar with biometrics and how they work and different modalities, but I thought I'd do a quick intro on a few of those. And then a couple slides on the co-enrollment work that we're currently doing, like with RB 583 and 587. And yeah, so, and then hopefully there's a lot of time for Q&A, because I would love to hear what the questions are and yeah, learn more from the audience as well. So,
okay, are you going to share then, Peter?
Yeah, it's disabled right now, so can someone please let me share?
All right, you're good to go.
Okay. So okay, looking good on that end?
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Okay, great. So yeah, as I mentioned, I'll talk mostly about biometric identity today, and hopefully answer any questions at the end around different modalities, what the benefits are, and privacy as well. And then talk about how that ties into co-enrollment detection. Thank you for the introduction. Peter Simpson, I've been with iRespond. It's been about 7 years now, I think, that we've been deploying these technology solutions for the nonprofit iRespond.org. So iRespond.org, again, over 6 years operating globally in a bunch of different countries, based in Seattle, Washington. And yes, UW Global Health was our first user, and it's been great. Again, going back with Matt Dunbar and others on that. Now we have offices and staff in Asia, Europe, and USA. And everything that we work on is privacy by design. So we're very much focused on not just building tracking and identity solutions, but making sure that the beneficiaries are protected under GDPR and other data protection and privacy laws. So that's really our what differentiates what we're doing is privacy first and foremost in everything we design and develop. Very much we've been part of the movement of blockchain, and yes, blockchain is a lot of hype, but it does have some very important uses around decentralization and immutability for identity, and again for privacy. So we can talk about that later, but what I want to talk today about would be the biometrics. So I'll share a couple of slides here of photos. Again, are you able to see these photos coming up okay?
I can see them.
Yep.
Okay, great.
I think everybody can.
Yeah, please jump in if you can't see the video or photos. So, so this is just one of the implementations in Myanmar and Southeast Asia, where we're actually having, we do a lot of testing of hardware and software from all the biometric manufacturers globally. And in our labs, we determine which are the best for working in resource poor environments, like this slide shows. Here's another example of some of our work in Africa around biometrics. You can see we're testing optical fingerprint sensors, and under her arm is a palm vein scanner. that we actually work with the manufacturer on that. So testing different equipment, trying, coming up with the best solutions both on software and hardware that really work in the field. Here's another slide. Our work in the UN refugee camps. During COVID, we had great success in providing privacy-preserving identity for irregular migrants that needed vaccines, both in the refugee camps and outside in cross-border situations. It was very effective to basically make sure the person in front of you, without knowing any details about them, but they've had their first, second, or third dose of COVID in that particular region. And again, the photo on the right is interesting because it shows with a specific biometric modality, you can still provide a privacy-preserving identity, respecting culture and religion as well. So may I ask a question, I guess, to the audience? Is everybody technically familiar with biometrics? I know everyone on this call probably logs into their iPhone or Android phone every day with face or finger. It's going forward 6 or 7 years since we started, it's so popular now, right? Everybody wakes up every day, biometrically logs into their iPhone and moves forward, or you face recognition into your bank account. It's pretty common now, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody's comfortable if I kind of go through this quickly, or we can maybe in the Q&A go into more detail if you want. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that sounds good to me.
Great. So this slide is kind of dense. But what I wanted to show here is that the different modalities for identifying humans using biometrics. And yes, you can identify animals with biometrics as well, iris scanning and DNA work as well as prints. For example, in bovines and cows, the nose print is one way to uniquely identify them. But let me stick with humans here. So facial recognition, something we're all familiar with, again, with our phones. Finger, palm, toe, and footprints. Those are quite popular. Less so now. I would almost say they're kind of outdated because of COVID. There were several documented cases of fingerprint sensors being a vector for infection. So many groups are ceasing to use fingerprints moving forward. And looking at other things like face or iris. So there's monocular and binocular iris, palm and finger vein patterns, electrocardiogram, the rhythm of your heart, voice patterns, retinal imaging, which is not iris scanning. So it's very important. I think many of you might be familiar with the Terminator movies, right? Where they take the eyeball out, hold it up to the door and unlock the door. That's retinal scanning, where we actually penetrate the eyeball and scan the back of the eye. We don't do that. We do more of a selfie of the outside of the eye, and I'll go into more details on that. But iris scanning is not retinal imaging. They're very different. Ear shape is used for infants, sometimes to do identity at an early age. Gait analysis, if you remember Mission Impossible 5, the movie, as they're walking, the computer's analyzing their gait. That's unique to individuals as well. And the gold standard for identity is DNA, but it is wet work and it is expensive. So second to DNA is binocular iris for identity, or one-to-N, making sure you have the right person. So at iRespond, we've been focused on non-contact biometric ID, again, to prevent or to minimize a vector of infection. The story I always use, we all travel around the world, and every time you're in the immigration line and you go up to that fingerprint scanner at some airport that thousands of people have been touching and it's all grimy and sticky, that's we avoid anything like that. So no touch. So we focus on iris, face, and palm vein biometrics for identity and verification. So this slide, is pretty big and shocking, but this is really the material that we are generating a unique pattern for each human being. And the iris, this wavy material, this tissue, is unique left and right in each human being. So there's basically a backup, if you will. If you damage one eye, you can use the second eye to identify you. And as you can see from this image, it's so dense, it's so feature rich, the pattern, that compared to your fingerprints, you need 10 prints for your passport. you only need one eye with the amount of material in this for identity in a large population. This slide kind of shows what we do in the software side. We image the iris in black and white or grayscale. We segment it, we transform it, and basically we create a unique barcode that represents that iris and that human being. And again, left and right are different, so you collect both. And this is the process from one of the refugee camps. I'll just go through and show you in 15 seconds. Again, with a lot of software optimization, a lot of experience over the past 5 years, we've optimized this down to 15 seconds to create a globally unique identifier. And I'll step through this. So in 15 seconds, that young woman, this is the pregnant women, this particular clinic, was generated a unique 12-digit ID. When printed out from that printer were a set of 8 barcodes that can then be put on slides or test tubes or booklets or paperwork that can be tied to that clinical record for that individual. But you notice that there was no, she didn't speak, there was no names given, there wasn't a language barrier, there wasn't false information given, perhaps in an HIV clinic where they're sensitive. It was simply an ID that was generated, and that was it in 15 seconds. So on the co-enrollment, taking all of that work over the years to provide a privacy-preserving biometric identity that does not collect PII or PHI. So it's very important to understand that we do not collect names, dates of birth, sex, any of that information, addresses, phone numbers. All of that is left up to the PI or the implementers. But as a technology service, none of that information is collected, stored, or managed by our solution. Therefore, there's nothing to hack, there's nothing to steal. Even we cannot associate a unique biometric template and an identity. It'd be impossible for us to figure out who's who. And that's by design. Again, that separation of concerns, privacy by design, really making sure that we're protecting those individuals. So detection of existing enrollment or conflicting studies, if available, is part of the co-enrollment detection. Detection of duplicates and possible fraud, prevention of that happening and alerting. This co-enrollment detection also works across borders with multi-country studies and nomadic populations. For example, like Lake Victoria, right? There's a lot of individuals that are in the fishing community that may be going across between different countries. You need a system that can work across that and also support each country's privacy laws and data protection laws. The co-enrollment detection is now fully integrated into CAST with the Henry M. Jackson Foundation, and there's multiple study use in Africa and Asia will be coming online as well. And I have a whole nother presentation on fingerprints versus iris versus face, but I really wanted to show this little quote that HEF shared, that from the field, they do definitely prefer the iris over the fingerprint, and then showing, the failure to enroll, especially when you're dealing with populations that are maybe farmers or fishermen or, working with their hands. It's quite difficult to get a fingerprint enrollment or even a follow-up verification if they're damaged. And then, yes, I'm sure there's people on the call that are familiar with this. So it is launched and it's out there. It's interesting. We are tracking, many African countries have biometric national IDs being rolled out, and laws and personal data and protection laws being put in place. Many of them are copies of GDPR or subsets, but it's important to be on top of that and understand what the new rules, laws, and regulations are around biometrics. So I thought this would be interesting to show you another short video of the mobile phone. So now we're able to do verification biometrically, co-enrollment, and also stipend or cash payments for aid assistance via iPhone or Android. So I'll share that with you quickly before we close.